Hey folks, I'm gonna try to talk about some of this week because I think by now it's pretty obvious that there was some serious election fraud, and I don't think that even Democrats really can deny that at this point. They might try and put a good face on it, but here is the question that I keep coming back to. There are a number of them, but this is one big one. Do you honestly think that Joe Biden has what it takes to do better than Barack Obama did in 2008 and 2012? You know, that's the question that I would have. Could Barack Obama play second seat to Joe Biden in terms of his ability to draw people? And the answer is clearly no. So that leaves us with a second question. How is it that 3 counties in this country mysteriously at 4 o'clock got ballot drops and have boarded up their windows practically and locked the doors and had sheriffs surround the place to make sure the counting was not observed? You know, third world countries do that. North Korea does that. The former Soviet Union does that. Latin American dictators do that. We used to joke about this. And here we sit. And that concerns me. Because if we can cheat this badly and get away with it, if we can commit voter fraud, and we know in Detroit at least that there are a couple of those ballots, 2 were sought and 2 were found. 122-year-old dead person and another person that had been dead since 1984 voted in September. So this is not just a fraud that happened on election day. This has been going on since September. So here's my thought. This whole election is invalid and should be thrown out. We have no mechanism in our system to do that. I don't know where we go from here, but we've got clear fraud that has been perpetrated by one party with the plan to win the election. And I don't know where we go from here. The Supreme Court should invalidate all those ballots, because if they're not observed, if we are not observing them being counted, they are invalid. If they are ballots that legitimately, legally were turned in, great. But I'm not convinced. I'm sorry, I just can't go there. And when you go beyond that to look at what happened, Joe Biden underperformed in every single area but those 3 counties in 3 different states that tipped this election. Period. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that could happen. I don't believe that Barack Obama underperformed compared to Joe Biden in those areas. Period. Not when we saw what happened in the turnaround in Miami-Dade and Broward counties in Florida. Period. When, that's the point. When you see what actually happened in Miami-Dade and Broward County, when they got rid of 2 corrupt people in charge of the elections, look at the change between 2016 and now in how the people voted. This has been going on for a long time. So where do we go from here? I have a couple of suggestions. Number one, we know when the due date for absentee ballots or mail-in ballots is. At the end of that time, when we get to Monday night or whatever, whenever that threshold is within a state, we need to shut off the ability for those to come in by saying, this is the amount of absentee ballots, mail-in ballots we have on hand at that moment when receipt ceases. And we need to do the same thing with Election Day. This is how many ballots are out there at this time. This is how many ballots we have on hand as the election hour ends. Period. Period. There's no point. You have had all this time. We know what the rules are. Nobody has an excuse for that. We know when the deadline is. Once that deadline is reached, there should be no more being accepted. I don't care if they're still in the mail and they need 3 or 4 days. No. Iowas are very plain. You have to have that ballot in no later than Monday. And that's the way it should be. There should be a clear line. This is when those ballots are done being received. So, the way I look at it, we need to have a clear recording of how many ballots actually have been received at the appropriate time, by the appropriate time. We need to have the same thing applied at the end of Election Day. There should be no more of this, oh no, here's another box. Oh, here's another box. Mistakes are going to happen, and some are going to show up late, 10, 15, 20 in a county. I could see that. But when you're talking about 50,000, 190,000, no, that's not accidental. That's not lost ballots. That's not misplaced ballots. That is fraud. And when it happens at 4 o'clock in the morning, that is fraud with intent to get by with something. When you see somebody in the area that's counting ballots that is sitting there marking on those ballots after they have accepted the ballot, that's fraud. And that person needs to be fired. They need to be escorted out. They need to be arrested and charged. Because until that's happening, that behavior is going to keep happening. And we have no integrity in our elections until that stops. Now, I'm going to get off of here right now. There's going to be more coming. I'm just trying to think of how to put down in words what I'm really thinking right now. So, y'all have a good day. We're going to get through this. And the justice system is going to hopefully correct this. If not, then our country is lost. But I feel hopeful that our system will have a just resolution to this. So y'all have a good night. Keep the faith. God bless you. And we'll talk to you soon.